Hey there, guys. How you doing? It's me. I'm back again today. I'm sporting my Trump hat because it's Trump. If you don't like him, I don't really care. If you want us to talk about it, put it in the comments. I'll ignore them. But anyway, today I want to talk about change. So I don't know where it came from, but I don't know. Let's talk about it anyway. So I don't really know where to start, except for with some nice chips, because, well, chips are just fantastic. But anyway, so, change. Where am I going to start with that? Well, I mean, I guess the first thing that I could start with is talking about, well, is change good or is change bad? Now, nowadays, everybody thinks, or I've heard over and over again, well, change is good. You need to embrace change. And I think that statement, there's two parts to that statement. One, that change is good, and two, that we should embrace change. I think on the first part, change is good, I think that's not true. I don't think change is good. I don't think change is bad. I think change is a gamble, and it's neutral. Now, the first thought that comes to mind is, well, if it's a gamble, isn't it bad? Gambling's bad. Well, yes and no. Gambling is bad, but off the top of my head, to give an answer, well, is gambling bad? Well, if it's unnecessary, okay? Well, I think this gamble is not necessarily good, but it's kind of neutral. Well, why is gambling bad? Well, when we think gambling's bad, I say well a lot. I don't care. When we talk about gambling being bad, we think about, well, when you unnecessarily put yourself in a situation where you can lose life and limb without proper justification, okay, without a good reason. Now, that's why it's unnecessary. Well, why is the future not a bad gamble? Because the future is going to happen no matter what you do. You can put yourself in a situation where the future could turn out better and worse, but the future is going to happen. Okay? But anyway, so I think the future is a neutral gamble. Why is it neutral? Well, I think it's neutral because I don't know if my Snapchat notification went off, but if it did, I don't really care. Why is it neutral and not good or bad? Well, I think because neutral isn't not an action, and not even a description or a noun. A person, place, or thing, right? But these chips are so good. I'm sorry if it's picking up on the audio, but they're just too good to pass up. Oh, I got my dentist bag in my pocket. We're gonna time out here. They have my favorite kind of toothbrush. Nice hot pink toothbrush. Yeah. Oh yeah, baby. What else did I get? It's like Christmas, but with the dentist, so sterile. Oh, I got these floss sticks. It's fantastic. I'll throw those in my bag and forget about them for a while. Anyway, why is change not good or bad? Why is it neutral? Well, change is neutral because it can be good or bad. Change can be fresh and a relief, and it can be good, but sometimes you can change and it changes for the worse. It happens a lot. I know a lot of people who have, for instance, I know a person who was in a good house, was in a good home. It was a foster home, right? But then something happened with the biological parents where she had to go back to the biological parents. And the biological parents weren't as good for this girl as the foster parents were. Well, and if that sounds BS, it probably is. I don't know all the details. But anyway, but that's what I've gathered. But that's just an example of things can change for the worse. And they do a lot. It's inevitable. you know, life isn't good or bad. Life is good and bad. It's a mixture of the two. I'm going to take off my hat because you're not seeing my face. And that's terrible. You know, who wouldn't want to see my face? It's so handsome. But, yeah, my hair is terrible, but who cares? Nobody's going to see this except for me. But anyway, you know, the future, like I said, it's a gamble and it's not good or bad. So, and that draws me to the second part of the original statement: change is good and we should embrace it. Should we embrace change? I line up I'm pretty conservative through you know, politically and culturally, and how I approach things and how I look at things. I'm pretty conservative. I don't like change. I don't like it at all. And, you know, and that's, I mean, if you guess from the hat, I don't like change. I think change, well, I don't think change is terrifying. It's petrifying. If you don't think that change is petrifying, you don't grasp what change is, you know. And, you know, and it's not even change that it's not even all change, because some change you can see, some change you can anticipate, then it's less of a gamble. But the change that's petrifying is mortifying, and I think everyone agrees with this, whether they admit it or not, is the change that you don't know what's going to happen. You're going in for a new job. Is it going to be good or bad? You're going for a checkup. Is it going to be good, or is there going to be something that's bad? And these are just examples, but the point is, change when we don't know what it is terrifying. Change when we do know what it is can be coped with, can be prepared for. We can brace for it. Change that you don't know what it is, you can't do any of that. That's partially why it's terrifying. But, oh, where was I going this? There was a direction with this, I know it. I'm going to pick it up, but, you know, well, should we embrace it? I said earlier, change is going to happen. The future is going to happen, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's going to happen or not. So should we embrace it? Yeah, of course you should embrace it. You want to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. You want to hold on to that change. Oh, it's cold out here. But you want to know what it is. You want to know about it as much as you can. You want to be comfortable with change. You want to be able to change. Because while change is terrifying, and I think it's neutral, it's a gamble. And since it's a gamble when you don't know what it is, I think that it leans more bad than it does good. You know, I think that change, you need to be comfortable with it. Because not only will change happen, after it's happened, you know, you can't cope with it if you don't know what it is. That's the future. But after it's happened, once you're good at change, or once you can understand it, or once you can accept it, you can deal with it in the moment. And that's terrifying. Well, why is that terrifying? Well, because that whole statement means that you need to work. You need to better yourself. You need to better your character. You need to increase discipline. You need to increase patience. You need to be a good person. Well, that's work. And it's work, and I think part of the terror of it is that you're working to cope for something that you don't know what it is. You want to prepare for the future, but you don't know what the future is. You know, it's like, look at nihilism, okay? You know, just keep that word in your head. Nihilism is the philosophy that life is intrinsically meaningless and doesn't matter. I think I've said this before, I'm an electrical trade student. I'm learning electrical, okay? I want to do that when I get older. You know, doesn't matter what it is, I want to do something with electricity. Well, if I get in an accident and I lose my arms and I lose my legs and I can't work, what am I going to do then? I've been preparing for the future, and then something happens and it's all worthless. Worthless. So what's the point of changing for the better? Well, I think part of it is that changing yourself is a skill, and that's something that should be embraced. Definitely. I think that having the ability to change yourself and discipline yourself and work with yourself and accept yourself, I think that that's a skill that needs to be practiced and established. That's something that, the future's bad. But I said you can make it better or worse when you're in the moment. If you can learn to change yourself for the better regardless of your situation, it's going to help you no matter where you go. It's like my idea is that if you learn a trade, you can go anywhere and you can do it. Well, that's not true. If you learn a trade and then something happens, like I said, you lose the ability to work, it's worthless. But teaching yourself a trade, teaching yourself to learn, disciplining yourself to a point where you can get up and grind and work and push yourself to succeed in any form of education, be it vocational or not, is going to teach you to help adapt to the environment you're in. And it's going to help you for the better. Because change is going to happen, the future is going to happen. Well, you're going to change no matter what it is. You're going to adapt no matter what it is, no matter what situation you're in. The future always happens, which means that you're always going to be put in a different situation. Well, the future is always going to happen, which means that you're always going to be in a different situation. And humans, you're going to adapt to meet, work is something that's terrifying. Well, if you get put in a situation where you're perpetually fighting your environment, eventually your environment's going to wear down on you. And you're going to change. Whether you think you are or not, you're going to change. But the thing is, even when you change, you can change for the better and you can change for the worse. If you're in school, like I was homeschooled, I think I said that too. I'm a Catholic. You all know that. Actually, I shouldn't say you all because nobody's watching this. I'm a Catholic. When a Catholic homeschooler goes into school, two things could happen. That's my environment. That's going to wear me down eventually, unless I get up over it. So, either I can falter, and I can fall, and I can submit to the culture that has been adopted in school that is not Catholic, it's not Christian, it's not conducive to the lifestyle that I'm called to live. Or I can rise up and I can better myself to a point where my environment doesn't matter, or at least the environment I'm in doesn't matter, because I can rise up and I can build up a defense against the environment that I'm in, okay? And I can better myself in the areas that I need to better myself because the points that are being pushed up against are guarded against. Through the virtues and the disciplines that I've established in order to cope with the places that are getting hit. That's the skill I'm talking about. Change is going to happen no matter what you want to do. The environment you're in is going to change. You're going to change no matter what happens. But while you're in the environment you're in, learn how to better yourself so that when you're pushed into a new environment, you have the skills, or maybe if you don't even have the skills, but you understand some idea of what you need to do to put yourself into that situation where you can better yourself, where you can raise yourself up against your environment, where you don't falter, where you don't submit, where you don't give in, where you don't give in to apathy or indifference and just cease to care about bettering yourself. take the situation you're in now, take the environment you're in now, take the virtues you have now, better the virtues you have now, learn new skills, learn how to better yourself and establish new virtues. And here's the thing. I'm talking about getting ready for a new environment, but humans are imperfect, and we will never be perfect. You know, we're not worthy of heaven. We are not. If we were left to our own devices, we aren't worthy of heaven. The only reason that we can be made worthy of heaven is because of God's grace giving us the sacraments, giving us the sacrament of Holy Communion, giving us the sacrament of reconciliation, confession, where we can be raised to a point where we are worthy for heaven. If we're left to our, what was I saying? Crap. Motherfucker. Again, I'm sorry about the swearing. It's bad. Don't do it. It's a bad habit. I try to break it, but I'm a human. I fail. But, oh, what was I going to say? Something about your environment and... Oh, yeah. Humans are imperfect. Which means that no matter what area you're in, no matter what environment you're in, there's always a place. You know, like if this is... I'm using this whole motion a lot. Well, if this is you, maybe overall you're winning. But the thing is, let's say like this knuckle. There's something that when you're pushing, your environment is winning. You're faltering, you're submitting, you're losing. So establishing virtues that are going to help you in a new place are going to help you in the place you're in. Because it's going to help you in that place where you're losing, where you're faltering, where you're submitting, where you're being taken over. There's always a place where that's happening, and there's always a way to help yourself. That was a nice pause there. There's always a way to help yourself. You have to understand, and when I say you, I mean myself. I'm going to time out here. What was I going to say before I time out? You have to understand, since there's always a place to better yourself, there's always a way to better yourself. There's no excuse to... Okay, now I know where I was. Time out. When I say you, I mean me, because I think I said in the last video, you know, there was someone who said, learn from listening to others, and then also learn from what you write. You know, write down your thoughts, write down your experiences, write them down in relation to what other people have experienced or have said. Or I'm putting this hood up because it's cold outside. It's like 30 degrees. Learn from what you write. This is what that is. I hate writing. It's terrible, you know. I prefer speaking. So I'm going to speak, and I'm always going to come back on these, you know. And I may get older. All right, forget where I was before this timeout, because I just found something new. So, time in. I may get older and find that... I'm going to finish what I was saying first. There's always a place where you can improve. Don't ever fall into apathy and think, well, I can't improve. I'm perfect, because you're not perfect. And if you think you're perfect, you're blinded by pride, which could be where you're failing. And it's blinding you to where you're failing. Be it pride or some other sin, or some other habit, or some other vice. You're failing somewhere, and if you say you're perfect and you honestly think you're perfect, you're lying to yourself. You're betraying yourself. And Dante's Inferno, the lowest place in hell is reserved for traitors. Okay, anyway, now, where was I going? I remember. I may look back on these videos and think, wow, what a stupid kid. What the fuck were you thinking? I mean, geez, holy crap. You know, when I was younger, I said things, and I'm looking back now and going, ooh, did I really say that? Did I really believe that? Ooh. But anyway, I've got ears. These look great. But that may very well happen. And I think that's another part of change, is that, well, then what I know now is going to be obsolete, is going to be over, it's going to be stupid, it's going to be irrelevant. But the thing is, it's not irrelevant. here's the thing. I hate the whole idea of speak your truth, because then I always think, well, no, don't speak your truth, speak the truth. But the thing is, no one really knows. Very few people really know the truth. Okay? So, speak the truth you know. Like there's the whole argument of moral relativism, which I think I still have to do a video on. Well, it's like, well, see, we hold these values to be the core values, the chief values, but back then, they thought that those were the core values, and they enforced those. And it's like, so which one is right? Do we think that we're right? Well, that's stupid, because the odds are exponential, that the odds that we've been wrong up until this point, that's stupid. And that argument has some bearing. I'm using that wrong word, but I think you get the idea. That argument is not an invalid one. But the thing is, yeah, it's a daunting idea to think, well, see, we've gotten it wrong up until now. Now we're right. We've got it now. And then later on we're going to be like, well, see, we didn't know what we were talking about then, but now we know what we're talking about. Well, you never knew what you were talking about. You still don't know what you're talking about. The odds that you were wrong up until now, but then later on you're just going to say, oh, we were wrong, by the way. That's stupid. And that, like I said, that argument has some bearing. But, learn what you write. Learn from what you write. Learn from what other people say. The whole point of conversation is to find the truth. It's geared towards finding the truth. Good, honest conversation that's directed towards the truth is going to help you. It's going to help you find the truth. It's going to find you help virtue. And if it's not done correctly, if it's not geared toward finding the truth, it can help you fall into vice. It can help you lie to yourself and to others, whether you know it or not. But that's one of the things about the future. Have conversations now, because having conversations that help you now, that are actually good, honest conversations, they're going to help you find the truth, and the truth is only going to help you better yourself. It's like, well, I want to build a road. Well, if you don't know where the road is going, and you can't see what you're working with, and you can't see what materials you have, you're not going to be able to build the road. Seek to find the truth. Always. Have conversations that are going to help you on your path. And your path leads into the future. That's self-evident. Have conversations that are going to help you. Have conversations that you don't want to have, and you don't want to have them because they're going to point out where you're failing. Those are the ones you want to pursue. Have conversations that you don't want to have because the person there knows more than you. Have those conversations, because when you have conversations where you find you're wrong, and then you review it and you still find that you're wrong, that leads you closer to the truth if it was a good conversation. Okay? So, and if you can't see where you're putting the road, and you don't know what tools you have, and you can't see what materials you have, well, the truth, conversation, is going to help show you who you are, who other people are, who you should avoid, who you should surround yourself with, what you need to work on, what you're secure in enough that you can move on, when to hold on, when to let go. They're going to show you that. They're going to show you where the road's going. They're going to show you what tools you have, and they're going to show you what materials you have. And they're going to show you, maybe you don't want to put the road here, but you want to put the road here. Maybe you don't want to use those tools. Maybe you want to use those tools. Maybe you don't want to use those materials. Maybe you want to go with that material. And then, finally, there's one thing, and I can't find a way to tie it into the conversation as we've had thus far, so I'm just going to go for it. Another thing that scares me about the future is the fear of missing out, or the fear of failing, or the fear that, what is it? What would it be? The fear that, The fear that I've not done enough now that I could move on to the future, and the future's going to be good. You know, and that's a very that's my fear. I'd like to say it's a valid fear. You know, I will say I had a thing this summer, last year, with a girl I knew, and I liked her, and I thought she liked me. I know she liked me. And then over the summer, you know, I didn't want to move into the summer because I knew I wasn't going to be able to keep up contact with this girl because she was in my school. That's the only way I knew her. And at the time, I didn't have really a good means to communicate. And then when I got back, she met somebody else. And she moved on. That was a hard thing to move on from. It took me a long time. And I mean, it's only been a year. And I am only 15. And I did nothing with this girl. So really, there was no proof that there was anything. So I was able to move on faster than other people will. But my fear about the future is like what happened there. Have I not done enough now that when I move on, something else is going to happen that's bad? Have I not done enough now that when I move on to a new school year, that girl's still going to like me? That girl's still going to want me. That girl is still going to, I don't know, still going to like me, still just going to want to be around me. Alright? Isn't going to have moved on. Well, there's no way to know that. There's no way to know, well, I've done this. There's no checklist. There's no, I've done this, and I've done this, and I've done this, and I've done this, so when I pack it up for a year and leave, then I can come back, and that's going to be done, that's going to be done, it's not going to happen. The future's unknown. Even the anticipated future that you can have, there's still a lot that can happen that you have no understanding of, that you have no warning of, that you have no idea is what's going to happen. And I know I just restated myself 3 times, but who cares? The point is, you can never say, well, you can never say, well, I did this, this, and this. So when I come back next school year, she's still going to like me, want to go out with me, want to be around me. There's no way to know that. So what do? When you're in that situation, you enjoy the situation, you understand what's good about the situation, you recognize what's good about the situation, but you also understand what's bad about the situation. You recognize what's bad about the situation. Okay? And then, that way, when you come back at the end of the school year, or at the end of the summer, either she might still like you, she might still want to go out with you, she might still want to be around you. But if she doesn't, you've recognized what was good about that, you've recognized what was bad about that, and you can move on. You can adapt and say, okay, you don't want to go out with me, you don't like me, you don't want to be around me. All right. And then move on to this other girl and say, you know, I like you. You know, you like me. You know, we click. And the things that were good about that situation are still here, but the things that were bad about that situation aren't here. You want to give something a try? You know, you need to develop the skills in the moment that you can go out and adapt. And I know I've said before I like Jordan Peterson. And this is another message that kind of coincides with that. It's a different message, similar, different. Actually opposite, but same circumstances. Jordan Peterson once said something that, for the future, you want to stock up. You want to stock up as much as you can. Okay? If you're a prepper, okay, you want to stock up as much as you can, and you want to bug in. Okay? But you need to have the ability to understand, like, there's no way to hold the place I hold. There's no way to bug in. You need to be able to bug out. You need to be able to indulge yourself in what you have and stock up what you have and store it in yourself so that you can move on. You need to be able to move on. You can't only be ready to bug in and stay in the place you're in, because there's no guarantee that the place you're going to be in is going to be a viable place tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, next 10 years. There's no way to know that. You need to have the skill. You need to develop the skill to say, well, if I can't stay here, I'm going to want this, 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 I'm going to want to know 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 this place, I'm going to want to know this place, this place. You need to develop that skill when you're in the moment, when you're in a good place, to figure out, well, if I'm in a bad place, how am I going to move on? How am I going to cope? You need to know it. So, is the future and change, are they good? No, they're neutral. Why is change in the future neutral? Well, the future and change are neutral because it can be good and bad. And if I had to say if it wasn't neutral, I would say it leans towards bad because it's a gamble. But the future can be prepared for. You can't seek to anticipate the future, but you need to have the ability in the moment, when you're in a good moment, to develop yourself for the worst case scenario. You need to be able to say, I like where I am now. I'm going to try to keep this situation through the future. But I'm going to develop the skills so that if I have to leave this home, if I can't stay in this home, I can move on and make this place home. Or maybe not even this place, but you need to be able to say, I can move on and make any place home. So, I think that video was better than the other videos I've done, but I don't know, because I haven't watched them in a while, which defeats the whole purpose of watching videos. But, I'm definitely brushing up on them, and it's good. It's good to know what I believe. It's good to have it laid out by myself in my own words, and then be able to say, well, I was wrong there, and I was right there. But it's a good thing. So, and the video is half an hour long, like all the other videos. They're all half an hour long. I hope they're interesting. If they're not, doesn't matter, because I'm just kind of talking to myself. So, Huh? Something. Yeah. With what? For what? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, well, I gotta go, as you can see. I love you, crazy people. Have a good one. God bless.